Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today's video is a little bit different than usual in that it's focusing on playing cards rather than tarot cards for divination. So it's still the same subject matter of cartomancy, but it's just focused on playing cards. And I have two playing cards in particular, two decks that I'm focusing on today. The one is called the Playing Card Oracle, created by Anna Cortez, and the artwork was by her late father, C.J. Freeman. And the second deck is by Alan Benoit, I think is the pronunciation of his name. And the deck is called Cartomancer Poker Deck, Archetypal Playing Cards. And the reason that I'm focusing on playing cards is that, I've been collecting playing cards since I was a little girl, far longer than I've been collecting tarot decks. I've been reading tarot for 43 or 44 years. So I have quite a few tarot decks, in my collection. But I've been collecting playing cards for longer than that. Now, the interesting thing is that generally, up until recent years, when I collected playing cards, the playing cards were the same. Basically the only things that were different were the backs, So I would go someplace and I'd get a deck of playing cards and the back was pretty, but then the regular front, the face of the card was generally, what we're typically used to, right? But in recent years, as I've been collecting tarot decks, I'm noticing more and more that I'm coming across playing decks intended for cartomancy that aren't just the regular run-of-the-mill playing cards. And so they have attracted my attention as well. And so I've begun collecting them. These two particular decks that I mentioned, I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison of them because I'm discovering with cartomantic playing cards that unlike tarot, there isn't a real consistent system between them. If you use one deck, they have a concrete system. If you use another deck of playing cards for cartomancy, they have their own unique system. And so I guess it could be akin to whether or not you do, TDM style, if you read TDM style Tarot of Marseille and Milan style tarot decks, which is a Pip, style deck, or a Rider-Waite-Smith, type, or a Thoth, So I guess you could say that in tarot there are distinctions between them. However, if you were to pick up a Rider-Waite-Smith or a TDM, and maybe even sometimes Thoth in some cases, the card meanings or the suits themselves will overlap. But it seems as though that's not the case universally with other playing card decks. Okay, so I'm starting out with these two. Both of these decks are poker sized, a great size. I wish tarot started coming out in that size. I like smaller size. And I bought the Cartomancer poker deck from Amazon, and it came in a typical Amazon way, which was fine. It came undamaged. Everything was hunky-dory. And the same with Anna Cortez. I ordered hers directly from her, but it came very well packaged. And definitely with the human touch that you don't get from Amazon, like a pretty it's only brown paper, but, she took the trouble and the time to stamp it and write thank you on it. And I thought that was really nice, a bookmark or a little extra card. And then a few extra cards. They both had a few extra cards. I think the Anna Cortez deck is showing other cards from, another deck to interest you, to pique your interest. The price of both decks were under $20 if you buy them singly. I bought the Cortez deck with the book because I know her system is completely different than tarot. The correspondences between the suits are not the same. And for my own edification, I purchased the book. But I bought the deck and the book for under $30, and then I paid like $9 or $10 for postage. But it came very quickly and safely, so no complaints there. And with the Cartomancer deck from Amazon, you just buy it and you get it in a day. Both of the decks have their own little weight books. So if you don't buy the regular book, you do get a little weight book. Each of the decks have a few extra cards. The Ana Cortez deck has, a card that just shows the deck and then a little bit of information about herself and her dad. And the extra cards for the Cartomancer deck were the 2 jokers and then 2 significator cards, one male and one female. Now they had them ordered in different orders, but I put them both in the same order for convenience sake in doing this video. So I'm going to maybe move the cards like this. I'm going to peek and make sure you can see them well. Okay, that looks reasonable. So here we have the 2 aces of diamonds. Now I know in the Ana Cortez deck, the diamonds relate to fire, whereas with tarot, fire is clubs. And I noticed that in the Cartomancer deck, this sensibility, this suit assignment matches tarot. So if you have an interest in learning Cartomancy with regular playing cards and you don't want to have to relearn a system of associations, the Cartomancer deck might be the better choice because there's less to relearn. And also, for example, I'm very deeply rooted in tarot. I mean, I've been reading for over 40 years, 43, 44, as I mentioned. And so for me, I cannot see the suit of batons or clubs as anything other than fire. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. It's fire, right? And so I don't know what I would gain by scrambling my brain up by trying to make new associations. I guess it could be healthy for my brain to do that. And I certainly have an open mind, and I'm going to read the book and I'm going to peruse the deck, of course, and I'm going to use the deck. But I think in my own mind as a tarot reader, unless I can really justify a reason for changing suit associations, it's not going to happen. So any deck I will, when I do dabble in Cartomancy with playing cards over the past several years, and I've just used a regular deck of playing cards, I assigned my same associations. So this Ana Cortez deck, artwork by C.J. Freeman, is quite a bit of a departure. So what I'm trying to say is, if you've never read tarot and you're looking for a great deck to work with and you don't mind associations, you have these 2 great decks to choose from. Bear in mind that they have different suit associations. So if you're going to start from scratch, you have a choice, right? If you've already been reading tarot forever or for a number of years and you are interested in dabbling in Cartomancy with playing cards, but you're not really sure you want to change the associations, you do have this deck, the Cartomancer poker deck, to choose from. However, if you think your mind is more fluid than I'm an old crone, it's probably really hard to teach me new tricks, right? And if you think you can cross over back and forth between using decks, the Cortez deck might also be suitable. So having said all that, here we go. Here are their aces of diamonds. They're 2 of diamonds. Now the Cartomancer deck has words. This is innocence. And if there is anything written on the Cortez deck or the Freeman deck, I can't make it out because my eyes are old and I can't see. But we clearly have, it seems like we have different meanings here. We have, innocence, a child at play with a stick and a, hula wheel, right? So that clearly shows childhood. But here we have a woman who seems to be with someone who's either coming out of the earth or becoming part of the earth. So it seems like quite a different scene. So it's not the same. They don't have the same theme. With 3 of diamonds. On the Cartomancer deck, it's Faith. And in the Cortez Freeman deck, it's called the Necklace. So they're quite different. We have the 4 of diamonds. And the 4s of the Cortez Freeman deck seem to be associated with winds, the directions, the 4 directions or the 4 winds. The 5s. The 6s. What a beautiful scene in the 6 of diamonds here in the Cortez Freeman. This one says persona. Oh, it's upside down. Seven of diamonds of each deck. This one has the word truth written on the sword, and this one has the word pain written on the card. Sometimes the truth can be painful. I guess that is a connection. We have the 8 of diamonds. The 8 of diamonds of the Cartomancer deck says obstacle, and I don't believe there's any keywords for the Cortez Freeman deck, although I know the book and the little white book both go into a lot of detail, and I'll get into that book after. We have the 9 of diamonds and the 10 of diamonds. In the Cortez Freeman deck, the 10s become women to I guess, balance out the court card, so there's 2 women and 2 men. The jacks, the queens, and then the kings of diamonds. They both have the profile in left, which I think is interesting. Okay, now we're into the clubs. Ace of clubs. I have Aethra here and feeling here. And I believe the clubs of the Cortez Freeman deck represents the suit of air, whereas in the Cartomancer deck it aligns with tarot in that it's fire. So 2 of clubs in the Cartomancer deck is ego, and in the Cortez Freeman deck, it speaks for itself. There's no name, no word. It's beautiful. I must say the art is really nice in the Cortez Freeman deck. Well, they're both nice, but I do like some of the cards of this deck, being very personal. 3 of clubs. Again, with the Cortez Freeman deck, we have the 4s, meaning the direction of the winds, which is a nice association. I believe Miss Cortez learned what she knew from her dad, who had been he probably was, a guy who read playing cards like I read tarot cards for a very, very long time. And he and she collaborated and made a deck, which is actually how I discovered her, because my daughter and I are creating a tarot deck. And we have this collaboration going, and and as I mentioned, as I'm looking for tarot decks, I stumble upon Cartomancy decks in general, and I'm noticing more and more how they're beautifully illustrated like tarot. And she caught my eye. Miss Cortez's deck caught my eye in my research, and that's how I came to learn a little bit about her and her story, which seems to parallel with me and my daughter. I'm still here though. Hope to be for a while. But it's a nice legacy to have with a child, to have to create something like this. Anyway, the 5 of clubs is destiny in the Cartomancer deck, and there is actually a word on the Cortez Freeman. It's the wind cape. So I'd have to read more, and so would you, to learn better what that means. Here we have the 6. Oh, look at that. That's really kind of cool. Anger. Wow. All contained in your chest, right? You're going to have a heart attack, right? That's what that looks like. In the Cortez Freeman deck, I don't believe there's any words. If there are, I can't read them. Too small. But it looks like, maybe it's a bridge over troubled water. I'm not sure. The water doesn't look particularly troubled, though. Here we have the 8. Wow, look at that. Of both clubs. In the Cortez Freeman, it's the Sword of Enchantment and Umbra, or Shadow. So they have quite different meanings. The 9s. Excuse me, the 8s. Here are the 9s. And the 10, again, remember in the Cortez Freeman deck, the 10s are female. Jacks. Queens. Oh, look at this queen. That's lovely. They're both lovely. And kings. And moving on to the suit of cups. Intuition for the Cartomancers and Agana. I have to learn about Agana to know what that means. The 2 of hearts in the Cartomancer deck is love, which crosses over pretty easily with tarot. Here it is 2 figures, male and female, entwined. It could be, but they look like they're not in a great situation. But I don't know. I have to read. My first instinct tells me I'd rather be in this love situation than this one. Okay, we have the 3 of each. 3 of hearts. And the 4, again, this is the direction. This one's the west wind. And the 4 of hearts in the Cartomancer deck is creativity. Okay, parenthood in the 5 of hearts in the Cartomancer. And Fata Morgana. I'll have to learn. So I'm not at all familiar with the Cortez Freeman associations. As you can tell, I'm much more fluid with the Cartomancer deck because I'm more familiar with what they mean. But I am willing to learn, and I will read the book, and I'll probably come back after I have. And I'll probably try to do a few readings too, Here we have the 7s. The 8s. Wow, look at that. It's very powerful image. The 9s. Wow, look, we have bleeding hearts. Look at that. And a tear in the card and a face peering out. And the 10s. Again, in the Cortez Freeman deck, it's a woman. Like a female valet. The Jacks. And here we have what little girl looks like Alice in Wonderland. Herald of the Heart. In this Cortez Freeman deck, I should mention before I finish the suit that the suit of hearts also correlates to water, and it's the only suit that is similar in that regard. And the Kings of Hearts. Now we're moving on to the suit of Spades. And here we have the suit of Spades. You can see that by the keyword is thinking, so it's a suit of air. Whereas I believe the suit of Spades with Cortez Freeman is earth. So it's quite different. Discovery for 2 for Cartomancy, and these arguing heads. And I'm sure there's specific people that I'll learn about. The 3 of Spades. It's interesting. One is, travel, as you would associate it with air, travel by air, flight, right? And then this one is more, being associated with earth. We have what appears to be a memorial, a tomb for someone. I can't read it. Remembrance, something in peace, maybe rest in peace. I can't see it. My eyes are terrible. We have the 4s, again, the final wind direction here, north wind, and the Cortez Freeman, and crossroads. Well, we do have a compass, which is interesting. It does make reference to the same concept in this particular card. The 5 of Spades. And look at that, that's really cool. So I'm drawn to the Cortez Freeman for the art. Because I really am. I like it. I like this one too, but I like the art of the Cortez Freeman deck speaks to me a little bit more. Maybe seems much more personal. Like I said, father-daughter link, and I'm doing a mother-daughter thing, so I guess that on a psychological level appeals to me. But I also like the artwork. It's it's very personal. I believe the Cartomancer deck is based on existing artwork from a long time ago. I don't believe it's new. I think it's in the public domain that he masterfully put together. Whereas the Cortez Freeman artwork is created by an individual. Today, well, before he passed away, obviously. Here we have the 9 of Spades. Really clever. 10, again, a female card, female valet, similar maiden card. And then the Jacks, the Queens. Now this is interesting. The Queen of Desire is the Queen of Spades rather than the Queen of Hearts. So, that's interesting. And this Queen is Morgana. I need to look her up. And then the final card of the deck. This one is the Chief of Wickedness. I love the title. In the Cartomancer deck, that's what this one's called. And then this one is Marduk, the Heartless. Okay. So both of these guys don't seem to be nice guys. Okay, so as I mentioned, the Cortez Freeman deck is created a father-daughter kind of collaboration, personal art. The Cartomancer deck is more vintage art. I think that's been repurposed, art that might have been in the public domain, but lends itself well, and with quite a lot of personalization. I mean, it's not just, there's quite a bit of thought that's been put into this deck. It's not all just, it's not just that it's been taken from the public domain. I think saying that is a disservice to the deck. But I don't get the sense that it's been created with a modern hand, put it to you like that. Okay, so put these aside. And here's the book, The Playing Card Oracles. And this one goes with the Cortez Freeman deck. And it's a nice book, I must say. It's over 260 pages, I think. Let's see. And 250 some pages. And look, I even got a Best and a Cortez. I even got her to sign it. How lovely, you know. And there is something to be said about the personal touch. I mean, I think you could really expect the personal touch when you order from her directly, or if you were to order from any artist directly rather than getting it through Amazon. There's something that is lost in translation when you buy something at Amazon. However, there's something to be said about free postage when you're a Prime member and getting it the next day. You know, you can't beat that when you're chomping at the bit to get something. But sometimes the only way you can get something is through a person's personal website, and you just got to do what you got to do. I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm going on vacation, so I have a lot of downtime. So I'm going to have dedicate my time to reading this book while I'm on vacation. So we have, you know, illustrated images of what the cards mean, and they appear to be, you know, full color images for each card and her explanation of what the cards mean. And I believe it goes on. And another thing that I have, because another reason why I found her, aside from researching playing cards for Cartomancy, was because I had also come to wanting to learn more about geomancy. You know, I mean, I've been aware of it and I understood it, but I've been keenly interested in applying it to my tarot work. And I've been dabbling in it, you know, and trying to come up with a system, you know, for doing it. And I get the book and look, she's got a whole section on geomancy with playing cards. Now, I don't know how they'll work out with tarot, but, you know, it'll be part of my research. So I'm grateful for that information. Anything I could learn, I'm always looking to learn. That's the great thing about tarot and Cartomancy in general, is you're always learning. I mean, I've been reading, you know, since 75, you know, and 1975, and I'm still learning. I'm still an insatiable learner. I want to read. I want to learn as much as I can. And the wonderful thing about this subject is that it's endless. It's like a black hole. I'm not going to lie. And it gets rather expensive. I mean, I have quite an extensive collection of decks, which does start adding up, you know. So, at any rate, it's a fun habit, and I guess it's better than drinking or drugs or chasing men, right? So, at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's always a pleasure to share what I have. If you have an interest in following me elsewhere, you can find me on Instagram at both The Tarot Reader and at Tarot Clarity. You can find me on Facebook at Tarot Clarity LLC. You can find me on Twitter as Tarot Clarity. And of course, here on YouTube, I'm Marilyn at Tarot Clarity. So until next time, friends, peace.